Are you going to do a fucking apologize joke? It took me way too long to realize what
I had a
doing.
plan. I was going to say I was mad at you.
Oh.
And I just figured you're going to be like, I'm sorry. And I was going to say, it's too late to apologize. It's too late.
Now it's too late for you to apologize.
You know I'm going to do that through the whole movie.
I'm gonna.
It'll be like the lifeguard. The
lighthouse.
Sure. Well, when we finally do watch Kristen Bell and the lifeguard, I'll go, and then it'll be true.
Cool, okay.
Hello, everybody. I am Will.
And I'm Kristin.
And this is So I'm Watching the Show, your twice-weekly pop culture podcast where we talk about movies, TV, music, and more. And as always, this is a spoiler show, so you have been warned.
Mm-hmm.
On today's episode, we are finally going to talk about Atonement.
Is that it? That's all you got?
No. 2007's Atonement. I know it's Keira Knightley.
Keira Knightley, James McAvoy, Saoirse Ronan.
Oh, Joe Wright.
Yeah.
Okay. I like Joe Wright, so this will probably be good.
Yeah, it's very good. I'm going to say very little because I don't want to spoil things, but it is beautifully
Is it a thing to be spoiled?
Yes.
Oh.
It is beautifully done. It is Joe Wright and Keira Knightley at their most symbiotic, in my opinion. I think this is the movie they were like both born to make together because she's his muse, essentially. But this one, for some reason, to me, is like the pinnacle of I think they've done 3 so far. It's this and Pride and Prejudice, and he did Anna Karenina. And I think this is the best one. It is quite long, so just be prepared for that. And I do think also this is my favorite James McAvoy.
Oh.
Yes, he's very British in this. I mean, he is anyway. He's Scottish, but it's very, I don't know. It's like exactly how I like my James McAvoy.
Will I be able to get through this without referencing all of the SNL skits?
Oh.
Take a deep breath.
I just want you to take a deep breath. In, out. You all right, little man? You all right?
What? Breathe.
So my problem with James McAvoy now is that I think he got too ripped for Split.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like him as much physically anymore. Am I alone there? You like him better now?
Well, it's just... It was just weird. Yeah. He got more attractive, so I don't like it.
I don't think it is more attractive is my thing. I think he's more attractive like this.
Well, we'll see. I haven't seen it, so.
He's like a wafy little British boy.
Mr. Tumnus is my man.
I do love Mr. Tumnus.
It's again from SNL, where they're like, he's like, I'm a sex symbol to a certain kind of girl.
You see, hundreds of your kind visit me every year because I suppose, in a way, I've become an unlikely sex symbol for a very specific sort of woman. Sort of a lazy Hermione, if you will.
Oh yeah, that is us to a T.
No, but
line them up.
I am just very excited. I'm excited for you to watch it. I can't decide this way because I thought you were going to hate Jane Eyre and you ended up loving it. And I actually don't know how you're going to feel about this movie. So I'm not sure.
Well, the World War II aspect has taken me out a little bit. I didn't know it was a war movie.
It's not a war movie.
Well, it says like grisly images of war or something.
There's like a 10-minute shot on the beaches of Dunkirk.
Does she like run through looking for him?
No.
In the silk dress?
No.
Oh, can she though?
Aggressively not.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm interested. And this is also the first movie where Saoirse Ronan, this is when she hit, essentially. Because I think she was nominated for an Oscar for this.
Oh, okay. Yeah. She's like 13, right?
She's very little, yeah. Mm-hmm. She's quite young.
So, okay. Well, we are going to watch Atonement.
Woo woo.
And then we're going to come back and then we're going to talk about Atonement.
Yes, we are.
Hopefully, I don't have much to atone for.
Well, if you do, it will be too late to apologize, so.
Walked right in. Hoisted.
On my own petard.
Dear Cecilia, you'd be forgiven for thinking me mad. The truth is, I feel rather lightheaded and foolish in your presence, and I don't think I can blame the heat. Riley! Do you think you could do me a favour? Run ahead and give this to C.
Good heavens, you're blushing.
Celia! You ought to call the police.
You saw him?
Yes, I saw him. I know it was him.
You know it was him?
I saw him with my own eyes. I love you. Come back to me.
Well, I actually wanted to make one thing clear before we move on, because I don't think I looked for it and I can't find it.
Okay.
But the whole point of the intro was there was an ad campaign when the movie came out, and it was at the peak One Republic, like.
Well, it was like the specifically
and Timbaland,
the two of them, because they had that, like, they had a version of Apologize, and then he did a remix of Apologize,
and that's the one that took off. And you always preferred the.
I prefer theirs, but it's like it was a campaign for this movie. We saw multiple TV spots where
they played it so much
where that version of Apologize by One Republic was in the trailers for this movie, and I was like, this is inappropriate.
It drowned out, like, it was so loud, and like I don't even think there was dialogue. Like it was it was like a music video, and so for however many years, 13 years have passed, anytime you have ever said Atonement, I've been like, it's too late. Okay, but here's the thing. It's actually profoundly appropriate content-wise.
Content-wise, yes. Lyrically, it's appropriate. Audibly, Timbaland is not appropriate for this.
2007 808 clip clop.
Yeah,
You didn't think that suited
a tragic love story set in World War II England?
So that's what that was all about.
Yeah. We will endeavor to find it, but if we can't find it,
we'll just pull the trailer and play Apologize.
Just play it over stuff. Just believe.
Just drown out everything.
No matter how hard I work, I can't escape from what I did and what it meant.
Did you like it?
Did I like it?
Yeah.
Did I like it? What isn't that from something?
I don't know.
I think that's from something. What do you think?
I don't know. You giggled a little. I told you I didn't know if you were going to like it before we started, and I'm still not sure if you liked it.
I'm really enjoying this.
Just
Putting you through
keeping
the
me
ringer.
in suspense every time I suggest you watch a movie. We've been doing a lot of my movies lately too, so I think you liked it. I think it's going to be the same as Jane Eyre, where you're not sure you're going to want to watch it a lot.
This is one of the best movies I've seen this year.
Oh my god!
Like, it might make my year-end list. My 2020 year-end list might be 2007's Atonement.
So excited!
I cried 3 times.
Yes, I cry all the time when I watch this movie. I've seen this movie so many times.
I didn't know. I thought
purposely didn't tell you things.
Yes, and I liked it that way.
Yeah.
I thought that this was a 2-hour period drama about I basically thought Saoirse Ronan discovered Keira Knightley and James McAvoy having sex and then told their parents. And I thought that was the extent of the plot. And I thought they were going to manage to drag that out. And I was like, I did not know there was so much more to it. And the first hour is one movie, and then the second hour is another movie.
Yeah.
And I did glance at the reviews just out of curiosity, and a lot of them, even the positive ones, kind of criticized that. And it's like, once it was pointed out to me, I suppose it's a little strange.
I mean, there's so many movies that are like that, though, where it's like there's an act break, essentially, where you move to the next thing.
It actually felt, now that you said act break, it felt very much like a play in that regard.
Well, so I love that part of it specifically because it's like it's a novel about a writer who's writing a play and who then writes novels. And so then it turns into a movie about a writer as well. And it's just like, I love that kind of like inside baseball approach to it. And so I do love that it is separated like that, because it's like, I don't want to check up on Robbie in prison. You know, spoilers, obviously. You know, it's like,
I was going to come out hot.
Oh, okay. You were going to come out all the way, right?
No. I mean the opposite of that. I was going to come out and say that's fine. I was going to say that I strongly recommend, if you have not seen this movie and you want to see it, I strongly recommend not knowing anything about it.
Press pause on this.
Yes.
Go watch Atonement and come back and listen to us.
Because sometimes, and we can do a minute or two, although, I mean, that's a midway spoiler.
It's not a full spoiler, yeah.
Although it is, because I was surprised when it happened. But some things were very lax about, and certain people, like for instance, both my mom and Jen, they're the kind of people who sometimes they won't watch something unless you tell them the end.
Well, and Anne likes that too.
Yeah. And I don't think this is one of those. I think that
because it's not twisty like a horror movie, but it's like the emotional payoffs pay off best.
The not knowing what happens is what makes it so effective.
Yeah, the first time at least, because it still affects me the same way now that I've seen it multiple times. But this is one of those movies that, like, I saw it for the first time, I think, in 2007, and it just sat with me for like weeks.
The other reason why, because we were living together by this point. It was
this year. Yeah. I don't remember what date this came out.
And I do remember being pretty like salty to you about it, because I think the other reason why I like had a chip on my shoulder with this movie is because Entertainment Weekly did like some ranking of movie dresses, and this green dress came in at number 1, and I was like,
well, I think the reason that it made you
it was
salty,
like promo, and I was like,
so I think the reason it made you salty is because it was promo, but also is because this movie was brand new. And it's like, there's been like, where is the Miss Scarlet dress from Clue? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's other things.
But also, I mean, or just Scarlett O'Hara, or like,
she's on the list, but she's not number 1.
And I think I went kind of me, where you were like, well, what dress would you put on there? And I was like, I don't know, fucking Glinda's dress. I was like, talk about iconic. Yeah. And you're like, well, that's a little bit of a different thing. Yeah. But that's like a costume.
Yeah.
Which I always love for people who don't know that they had the audacity to use that dress 2 more times in 2 more movies.
It doesn't seem right.
That's a break the mold.
The Glinda dress, you're like, just put that in the Smithsonian.
Yeah,
and we'll move forward.
No, it's in like I think someone, I don't think it's like Lucille Ball, but I think someone of note wore it in a later movie. And when it's pointed out, you're kind of like, oh, but regardless. I get mad at myself, too, because I love plenty of older stories and old-timey stories and romances and dramas and all that. And yet I still am so judgmental of them. I thought it was going to be boring. It's not. It's not boring.
Like, honestly, so much does happen.
It actually is what this was remember when we were covering Emma, and I was like, I want that, but like sexier. This is it. Like,
pretty sexy.
This is that's sort of the thing, and
that library scene will get you going.
That's one of the best sex scenes I've ever seen
in a movie.
Mm-hmm. The way in which
in a commercial movie.
Yeah. And that's honestly not something I think a lot about, to be frank, because. Well, Call Me By Your Name has a good one.
Yeah.
And weirdly, one of the first that always comes to mind when you say sex scene in a movie is 300.
Yeah, that one's pretty good too.
And it's very stylistic. But
there's actually a really good one in a really mediocre movie with Russell Crowe, and I think it's Marion Cotillard. It's called A Good Year. And it's like not even the sex scene that's sexy, but it's like as they're moving to the bed, their feet move like a tango. And I always really liked the framing of it.
We don't really see anything.
No. Well, she's in the dress and he's got his tuxedo on.
But it is explicit what is happening.
Pretty explicit, yeah.
Because she has a look.
Well, so apparently Joe Wright was like insistent that she would be a virgin. And he even spoke to a historian who was like, actually, given her status at the time and everything, she likely would have been very sexually active in college when she was in Cambridge. But he was like, so she's like supposed to be.
It also, I mean, that was so I gathered.
Yeah.
But I don't think that is necessary.
No, I don't think it's necessary. I thought it was an interesting piece of trivia.
It's something that, and we're going to go here, you just don't see it a lot in movies. Because it's especially a very female thing, but one of the first times I ever remember taking note of it was in the movie Swim Fan.
Oh, no. It's been so long since I've seen
They
it.
have sex in the pool.
Okay.
And there's a moment where Erica Christensen reacts.
Yeah.
And I remember being like 16 and being like, and I was like, we're not seeing anything other than their faces, but I was like, I know precisely.
I know exactly what just happened.
You can hear it. I was like, I know precisely what just happened.
What just occurred.
And to me, it's because you and I are very.
I will let you know that there generally is a reaction.
That's not just a hetero thing.
No, I'm sure not. I'm sure it's less of a hetero thing.
Ding dong. No, you and I are very. I don't like the word picky, but we're very particular about how. I can say it in like cheap language. Like we're picky about how dirty stuff is handled in movies.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Like we're particular about how. Because sometimes if you just come out and say it, it's like, no,
sure,
I don't want it.
But the clever use of the word cunt in this movie.
Well, it works. Yeah.
But also nobody verbally says it.
No, nobody verbally says it. And ahead of its time.
Yeah.
It's the English.
Yeah.
The English part. That's old hat for them. But I will say, you know, because we're living in the year 2020. We're living in a post-WAP world. And we're here for that. I'm not talking about that.
For sure.
But our favorite, like, sexy vagina song is Julia Michaels' Pink. Mm-hmm. And I also
like Apple. It's not so specifically about her vagina, but it's about sex for sure.
But I like when you can be explicitly clear and still kind of like,
yeah.
Like, I don't know. And the sex scene, the way in which it was choreographed, I was really blown away.
Yeah.
Like, really blown away.
It's the type of thing where do you see now why this is my favorite Joe Wright movie? But Joe Wright and Keira Knightley movie. It's so remarkably done.
I want them to keep working together.
Me too, forever, for the rest of their lives.
Because I remember when everybody was like, it's glib of me now, especially in hindsight, it's an inappropriate joke. But when Pan was coming out, everybody was talking about the Tiger Lily casting.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm shocked too. Everyone knows it should have been Keira Knightley. But go ahead.
Yeah. No, it's things like that why I think this is the pinnacle of their collaboration together thus far. Because I think with any other actress, it would have come off differently. And with any other director, it would have come off differently. And there's something so synergistic about the way the two of them work together that make all these things fly in a way that I don't think anybody else could have done this.
There's so many layers too.
Yeah.
Like the characters and stuff, because she's kind of bitchy.
So,
like,
though I've read the novel. It's been
is it
since
old timey or is
no? It's
okay.
It's modern.
Okay.
Ian McEwan is still alive. He's still writing. It's been ages since I read it, but I have read it, and there's more to it. There's more explicit description of their past relationship where like they grew up together.
Because that was unclear to me.
Yeah, they grew up together because he's the housekeeper's son, and they are the same age. And then they both went off to Cambridge, but she was like, "Well, we can't hang out in public," so she like made Cambridge friends, and then
it's
they
like
came.
You wrote it.
It's like I wrote it.
Yeah,
Why?
it's like so many. Like it's just very fan fiction.
Oh, fan fiction. I mean,
he's like a.
It's like the strapping young gardener.
And no, go ahead.
But that's the thing, and so like they come back to the house and they are sort of dancing around each other again at that point because they obviously have a kinship and they both like each other, but he's far below her station, and so it's like so odd to
even just like and the way in which information is presented. I don't always love stories that are not told linearly. However, that doesn't mean I don't like it.
Yeah.
I just sometimes I think it's more effective than others, and the fact that several times we see Bryony.
It's like there's more. You have to hit the O too.
Brony.
No. You have to hit them both. Bryony.
Bryony.
Okay. I'll say it from now on.
Will just puts like a clip art of like pickle juice and then like My Little Pony and then merges them together.
Yeah, perfect.
The fact that we see her see something. Well, we see her version of it several times, but also first, I think is so interesting because it's like because she's not wrong.
She's not entirely
She doesn't have
wrong.
context.
Exactly. That's why at the beginning when you were like, what is she seeing? And I was like, well, she's seeing a moment taken out of context that she doesn't understand because she is only 13 and it is 1935. So she's a relatively sheltered, rich little girl who's had all her whims catered to.
And it's particularly lascivious things that she's seeing. Yeah. And it's like, it just...
And it does seem to be all of a sudden.
Yeah. And it's so fascinating to get the kind of like salacious version first and then get the like adult backstory behind it,
which renders it mostly innocent. The fountain scene.
Well, yes, but I'm talking about all of the things or most of the things.
I mean, there's nothing innocent about the library scene.
Well, I mean, it's harmless.
It's harmless, yes. It's very, very specifically having sex up against a bookcase.
Yeah.
It is like I wrote this.
There's so many of your boxes.
It really does. Young James McAvoy with pink Scottish cheeks.
You're right. I know. Right. The young James McAvoy. It was good. Yeah. Well, because he's another thing where it's like he is so attractive, but it's not quite in a Hollywood heartthrob way,
right?
That I think suits it so much.
Yeah. Well, he looks like an English country boy, and it like that's what is enticing about it. Because I agree also that no one else could have been Robbie. I don't think it would have worked.
Well, they have such good chemistry together as well. And it felt like there was a lot of, like, the chemistry in the movie was sort of, it was an embarrassment of riches. Like, everybody had really good chemistry, and everybody was really bringing their own brand of shorthand, where it's like, even though I was just sort of like dumped into the middle of the story, I kind of understood what was happening.
I mean, there's certainly a reason why Saoirse Ronan was nominated for an Oscar for this movie at the age of 13.
So she just is inherently that gifted.
Yes, she's very good.
Okay.
I think she's got whatever that thing is inside her.
Some people just understand the concept of telling a story and
well, and I think she's even in this movie where I can't say she's one-dimensional because Bryony is like a very interesting character, especially as she grows. But
she was, even young Bryony was more interesting than I was thinking she was going to be.
And she's so good at utilizing her face, like to the point where I think they shot her stuff first, and then Romola Garai and Vanessa Redgrave like did her mannerisms.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like...
It was good.
So good.
You said Romola?
Yeah.
She was very good, too.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I don't think I've ever heard her say
She was exceptional, too, because I was playing that game where I was just sort of imagining modern day Saoirse, because she's such a presence now. And I was like, she could have just like, even though it's only meant to be like 5 years, it's like, it was very good.
I thought it was good casting for all three of them.
So I think from here, I think we've done a good job. We are going to transition into like full spoilers and stuff. But so I don't know if I had quite finished what I was saying about like her spying upon. Well, it just had such consequence because like growing up being a young man in the 90s, I this probably is not relatable anymore to youths out there. But it's like we had a thing like from like the 70s, 80s, and 90s, it was like stumbling upon the Playboy. You know what I mean?
Sure.
There's that thing where you're like a little bit younger than you mean to. And it's like, that would be like stumbling on the Playboy if the Playboy had consequences.
Sure. Sure. Like if the Playboy was going to give you crabs or something. It's just like, oh.
You went in a different direction than I meant, but it was like it had it's not just that she saw something that she wasn't meant to see. Like it was like the way in which.
Do you want me to like lay out what happens at the dinner party?
Sure. I mean, I think I follow it. Okay. But sorry. No. Who is Juno Temple and her two brothers?
They're their cousins.
Okay. Yeah, and they're from the north.
And their parents are going through divorce.
Okay. Yeah. But they're society people.
They are as well, yes.
Okay.
One of their parents is related to one of Keira Knightley and Saoirse Ronan's parents.
Okay. And so
I don't know which one.
What is going on with the dinner table? I mean, I think I followed it, but go ahead.
So basically first she gets the letter. Robbie gives Bryony the letter that says cunt a couple of times. And then it's a dirty letter.
Yeah, that he didn't mean to send to her.
Yeah, he meant to send an actual.
He's not just screaming cunt several times in the letter.
No, he says, I want to kiss your sweet wet cunt. It's a lot. What? He says it. So she gets that first and reads it, but then she goes back and Juno Temple's arm has been like messed with, and she says it's the twins. I think it was actually Benedict Cumberbatch at that point was messing with her already. Did you not watch the chocolate bar scene?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I didn't. Okay.
He was being extremely creepy.
So, okay, because there's another scene coming up in case you're actually trying to follow us, like explain it. But there's another scene coming up where Saoirse Ronan, Bryony.
That's fair.
Where she stumbles upon a second situation where someone, a man and Lola, Juno Temple are like, I don't know. Are they having sex or is she being raped?
She's being raped.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically he was being really creepy with her in the playroom. And then I think it was him that like hurt her arm. I don't think it was the twin.
Well, he was very quick to comment on it in a like groomy way, which is why I would agree with that. Yep. Watching it, I was like, well, it was either Cumberbatch or the brother. And
oh no, the brother is like a decent man.
Well, he's also inconsequential.
He's super inconsequential. He's a decent man. He's just a little foppish.
Well, I clocked Cumberbatch being kind of a jerk to the boys, but you're right. The chocolate scene, it's only in hindsight now that
because he stares her dead in the eyes and goes, bite it. You have to bite it. And I'm just like, ugh.
That's weird. Ugh. It's so weird.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It's really gross. He also I mean, the grooming, you're totally right, because like he owns a chocolate factory. He's like a chocolate maker.
Chocolatier.
So gross.
Well, she's also meant to be a little bit older, though. That's why I was asking about.
She's a little bit older than Bryony, but only by a couple of years. So I think she might be like 15 or 16.
Because I couldn't tell if she was like going along with it and then just like agreed.
So she was going along with it, but then.
No, I mean the sex.
No, she was not going along with the sex. She was going along with the flirtation and the
Well, so if she didn't know, then why did they both get so awkward at the wedding?
Because she did know. Who didn't know?
If Juno Temple didn't know that Benedict Cumberbatch is the one that raped her.
She did know.
When does she know?
She knows the whole time.
Oh, okay.
But doesn't think they'll believe her because he's an important person.
Oh, so she goes along.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. It's worse.
It's so much worse.
Okay, wow.
Because the thing is like the only thing that Bryony knows is that Robbie wrote a dirty letter and then was attacking Cecilia in the library. She doesn't know that was consensual. And so then when she sees someone attacking Lola, she's like, well, it must have been Robbie. He's a deviant.
Well, and the whole fountain thing, because we kind of blew past that, but it was like...
It is perhaps my favorite scene in cinema.
Oh, really? No, it's good.
It's stunningly beautiful. It's shot so well. Everything about...
That's the other thing. It was stylish in a way that I was not...
Everything about what they're both wearing, the like how angry she is when she's stripping down to jump in there.
You don't key in on that when you're watching it from the window.
No.
You're like, what is this weird strip poker game they're playing in the middle of the day?
Strip chicken in the middle of the day right out front of the house.
It's just a game called Wet Beaver. Like I was like, I don't understand what's happening here. But then when you get the backstory, it's like neither of them really realize that she's like indecent until it's already done.
Until it's totally finished and she's standing there dripping wet. You can see through the like bottoms of her.
I said what I said.
Flip. Yeah.
It was so good. Everything she wore in this was so good.
Amazing.
Like one summer's like gust could leave her nude.
Well, that's the thing. She's all wet and she's like, oh no, I am wet and basically naked in front of this man. That's inappropriate. And so she's trying to pull on this like sheer top. And I'm like, Cecilia, it's not helping. And she also, because she's all wet, she can't get her arm through the like sheer fabric.
No, it's so good. And then which I know you like so much afterwards when because this is chock full of, because you and Rachel, sorry, I do this if you're new to the show. I go like 3 layers and then come back. You and Rachel get so much mileage out of the one time that like Lizzie and Mr. Darcy's hands like touch when it doesn't need to.
Okay, it's not
but this movie is like littered with that
It's
stuff.
not just that their hands touch when they're not supposed to. It's that when he's walking away, he has to like stretch out his hand because it affected him emotionally so much.
And so...
It's so sexy.
So after the scene's over, James McAvoy goes to like touch the water that she was just naked in. It's so... with the lily pads and it was...
beautiful.
It was so good.
It's so beautiful. beautiful.
You're like, I was like, you're defensive. Like, I'm not agreeing with you.
So beautiful.
It was so good. I was astonished at how endeared to them I was with what little we actually got.
Well, and I do also love how the movie addresses that too, because when they have the scene when they're in the like officers lounge or whatever, when she's the nurse and he's in his uniform and everything, and he's like, if all we have to hang this on is a few minutes in the library 3.5 years ago, how can we like make it into something?
This is like a play because they're telling.
Yep.
Like,
but it works.
Yeah, because you're like, why? I was like, why is she dressed like that? And I was like, how? Like, I was thinking he was going to be mad at her, but then through dialogue, you find out that she's estranged from her family.
Yeah.
Like,
because of
that.
what they've done to him.
Because I was surprised. So back to the first spoiler, them arresting him. I was surprised, and it's because he was lowly and they just needed to be done. I get why, but I was like, he comes back with the twins. He like found
he
and
like
I'm like,
rescued the twins.
Yeah, and I'm like, so when did he have time to like? It doesn't add up. And rich people sometimes are the worst.
Sometimes things that are expensive are worse.
Those are like legit rich people too. Like they probably had a seat in the House of Lords. They were like quite rich.
Oh, everything was so beautiful.
That friggin' house.
Oh.
I do love though that the vase. She was like, "That's the most valuable thing we own," and he's like, "Not anymore." But I'm like, that vase.
Also, direct quote from the movie.
Yeah, it's like that vase. I don't believe.
Yeah, I mean, it might have been something
like antique.
Yeah, particular, but. I mean, so it does sort of abruptly at that point, there's 1 hour that is this, and then it turns into a war movie. I genuinely didn't know what we were going to get.
Okay.
Because I reached a point where it must have been when he found the field of the dead girls. Mm-hmm. What was that? They were all just like Wednesday Addams for some reason.
They executed a school. The Germans executed a school.
Oh, just...
They're Nazis. I don't know what you want from me.
Okay, sorry. That's not... okay.
Unless it was something more sinister, because they were in France at that point. So unless it was that the French school killed the girls so they wouldn't be killed by the Germans, but that's not made explicitly clear.
I don't know.
I just assumed it was the Nazis.
That was the scene where I was like, I'm taking it on faith that he's going to be fine.
Mm.
And I was like, and around that point, because I had glanced at the cast list just out of curiosity, and I was like, Brony had like 3 different actresses. Mm-hmm. I was like, and
none of the rest.
James McAvoy. And so I got real nervous at that point. And also, they made sure to show us that like weird chest wound. It was small.
Yeah.
But if Game of Thrones oh no, I don't have Khal Drogo's at my house.
I didn't know you had Khal Drogo.
Mm-hmm. It's like a figure.
Oh, okay.
But yeah. It's like a small wound, but it was pointed, and I only remembered it when they were on the beach at Dunkirk with that. Was that all real? I mean, Did they just build all of that?
Oh, yes, I think. Well, no, I don't think they built all. I think some of that's there, but they like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just this long tracking shot, and it's really, really disorienting.
Mm-hmm. Well, it spins a little, but it kind of does like wavy loops, and then it spins around the gazebo. Yeah.
No, I followed the like path of it, but the way people are behaving, it's like.
Well, I think that's obviously on purpose to make you feel disoriented after the Battle of Dunkirk.
Yeah, because there's the scene where they're just like executing horses, mm-hmm. and then like not 5 minutes later, there's like a woman and her son, and she's just kind of like, must be Tuesday. Yeah. And it's like, it was just a lot. And some people were drunk. Some people were, I don't know. It was nanners.
Yeah, it was.
That's the clinical term.
Talk about war. Talk about World War II. And
then I was, so the sailor or whatever said something about like, at least you're not wounded. That's what I was like. That was
Tobias Menzies.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then when he saw the like woman, was it his mother at first?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Brenda Blethyn.
And then I was like, this is an angel. Get out of there.
Yeah. So there are moments where it's another thing that I like about the second half of the movie, why I think it holds up to the first half, even though the first half is where all the like
I thought it was fun. Yeah. I loved it.
Where the like most romantic stuff happens, though, is like there are moments in the second half of the movie that are so they're circuitous because you come back around to similar things, and you're almost constantly hearing Cecilia say, come back to me, you know, to him from a letter and also from when he was arrested and everything. But it's also, there's so many moments that you can't tell if they're real when they're happening, even though they seem like they're happening. But you get a lot of like 3 weeks earlier or like 4 years later and stuff, and you're like,
you lose where you are sometimes.
You lose where you are, and so it makes it that much easier to believe the things are actually happening, even though by the time the movie's over, you have come to understand some of those things were not able to happen. And I just like, it's such a well-crafted screenplay and movie and timeline.
Well, and even because the way that they used, because it was nominated, I didn't see if it won, but it was nominated for the score because they bring elements from, well, for starters, there's typewriter.
Oh my God. That's one of my favorite parts of the whole thing.
He's clacking through the whole thing, but they'll bring elements from the scene into the score sometimes, like when his mother was like hitting the police car with the umbrella, that like thunking gets into the music and stuff. There was just this like nefarious tone that just kind of seeped into the Dunkirk scene. And I was like, I didn't know if I could trust the friend. I was like, is this friend going to try and like steal his identity or something? And there was even a part where I was like, is the friend going to like do something to him? Like, it was strange. It was really, like, I was very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And then we go to, you know, 18-year-old Bryony. Like Bryony.
Yeah.
Okay. We go to the 18-year-old Tally. What was her name?
Their last name is Tallis.
Nurse Tallis.
Tallis.
So we go to Saoirse Ronan.
It's Romola Garai.
So we give me a clip. I'll clip my hair.
Actually, your hair's the exact length and everything. I don't have a bobby pin in here.
Bobby pin and a nurse's hat. That was all really good because, you know, you get the sense that particular character, whose name I don't know, you get the sense that she is kind of like bratty, but it also makes sense. Like it kind of, and also could you imagine believing you're doing the right thing?
100%. And that's why I think she's one of the more interesting characters in the movie, even though she is played by 3 different actresses. I think they all bring a similar thing to the table. And so when she's 18, you can see that she still is a little precocious, but she has, I think, the guilt of knowing that she did the wrong thing has tamped down her
So
brattiness.
why do you think she just sort of, why do you think she's so certain she did the wrong thing? Because I could see that character easily just like sticking her heels in. Is there a reason? Or
I think it's because Cecilia left them.
Okay.
I think it's because she knows that Cecilia wouldn't have reacted that way if she weren't certain it wasn't Robbie. Okay. Like because you could tell Cecilia wasn't treating her like a dorky younger sister. She was like, when they were lying out in the sun together, I think that scene is indicative of their relationship because they're not being overly warm with each other, but Cecilia is not treating her like she's an annoyance. She's treating her like her beloved young sister who's just a little strange. And so I believe that's also absolutely why.
Don't neglect the fact that young Bryony was very talented and accomplished by the age of 13 and with the storytelling and all of that. I mean, it's one of the reasons why like eyewitness stuff always makes me nervous because it's used so often in legal, like in courts and stuff. And they have just proven time and time and time again, it is not reliable.
It's not really, it's very fallible. And it's the type of thing where I think the confluence of events, the way that everything happens, and then when you see them after the rape of Lola, when you see them questioning all of the family members, they already know, Cecilia and Robbie already know that Bryony has read the letter, the dirty letter. And so she specifically tells the cops, she's like, I wouldn't take anything she says very seriously. She's prone to fancy, like to be fancy.
And again, the cops just don't care because he's nobody.
Exactly. Okay. And so it's that's the thing. What he says later is he's like, they all closed ranks. Like, even if they knew it wasn't me, you had a suspect, they all, by that point also, I think she was already in too deep with the lie. Like, by the time that the cops were like, did you see it? And she's like, yes. In that moment, you can actually feel her walking it back a tiny bit.
I had empathy for her.
Because she's like, I saw it. And they ask something else. And she's like, I know it. And he said, you know it or you saw it.
And with the information
like,
she has, she makes it's Occam's razor. But very, very, very impressed. So we do come to there's the scene in the hospital with the French soldier, which I actually think is paramount. I think it's crucial. It has very little to do with the plot, but it's just such a phenomenal scene.
Well, and I think you're right. It's very important for her.
And
for Bryony.
I don't for a second believe that because she like undid the head wound, that's why he died. But I mean, it's just yet
there
another.
Was definitely a piece of his skull missing.
Yeah.
He probably was going to die.
No, sure. But there's just she did something and then the man died.
Yeah.
And it just was very kind of like my actions have consequences. And just and you can tell that that's not who she is because she keeps going back to her like actual name and not they're like your nurse Tallis. It actually also was giving me like Hunger Games vibes in like good ways. The war stuff.
I also in the moment with the French patient, I do love because the ward sister like rips her a new one for having told one of the soldiers her name, her first name. And then
is there a science behind that or is it just improper?
It's just to keep it's not improper. It's to keep a distance so that you're not constantly like falling down.
In love with the soldiers?
Well, falling in love, but also just like falling down because you're sad about, someone who died right in front of you and they knew your name and stuff. But I do like that in that moment with the French soldier, the ward sister hears her tell him her real name and then you think she's going to yell at her again. But when she sees that he's dead, she like has a bit of sympathy for her. I do like that no character in this movie is one-dimensional. Like all of them have something else because the ward sister could have been one-dimensional easily, but I love that there's that moment where she's like, I know I don't know everything you're going through, but I know what you're going through.
So yeah, so from there we have the scene towards the end where she finally goes to Cecilia to apologize.
Too late.
And it was, I don't know, it was really phenomenal. And by that point, you don't know where we don't know where in time we are. Yeah. And I was shocked when he came out of the room. I was shocked. And
at first you don't even see his face. So I
was like hanging on.
You're like, oh, she's taken a lover. Like
I didn't go that far, but I was like, who, like,
what is happening?
Yeah. And the only thing I will say is that from what we got to know about, what was his name?
Robbie?
Robbie. Yeah. He reacted extremely strongly. Not that I think Robbie would be like, water under the bridge.
He went to prison for rape.
Yeah.
For raping a little girl, too.
I understand. Well, yeah, I understand.
Sexual deviance in England in the 1930s did not do great.
No, I understand. But I thought his response was very, very, very strong because he loses himself. She has to like pull him out of it. And so then I thought this must be like shell shock or PTSD or war, what have you. And
it's implied that he's come home, but he's about to go again.
And right,
because she's like he has to take a bus at 6. Yeah.
God.
That's the implication of that scene is that he has seen action and come home and he has to be deployed again. You're like, ugh.
I had to take a
mental siesta.
Yeah, I had to take a depression nap when it was over. And I need another one. And then we just sort of like lurch forward into like modern day with Vanessa Redgrave.
Applause on her entrance.
Playing old
Bryony.
Bryony. It's just so fascinating and it's just so good. And I'm going to say something and I can kind of feel you not agreeing with me or fighting me, but it still gives me the thing like I say about with Little Women.
Okay.
Where it leaves everything sort of open-ended to choose your own adventure. Like
again.
And I think that have your cake and eat it too, I think is so hard to pull off.
Without it feeling pandery.
Or like I was cheated somehow or duped or and I just, because basically the end is that she's like, this is my last book because I'm losing, you know, my mind to dementia. And she's like, well, it's actually my first book and it's me atoning for my great sin. And in the interview, she confesses that, yep, he died in war from sepsis or whatever.
Septicemia, but it's the same.
And shockingly, the most shocking was that she was killed. She drowned in a bunker.
It was in the tube during like the Blitz.
And so she knew that would not suffice for an ending.
I love the way she phrases it specifically, though, because she says something like, what kind of satisfaction or hope can a reader gain from something like that? And so she's like, I had to give them their happiness. Like, it was the only thing I could do.
Because, like, a moment in time is just that. The second it's over, it becomes a story. You know what I mean? And it's like, at a certain point, a story, it's the big fish conundrum. It's like, it can become its own thing.
Talk about have your cake and eat it too.
Big fish. Yeah. At that point, the story doesn't belong because they're dead. And so many of the players are. It's
sort of implied that she's the only one left. Yeah.
And so the story no longer belongs to them. It belongs to the readers and stuff. And I am impressed. I really liked this movie.
Yay.
It might go to some places for me.
Yes. I also like that the movie does end because the whole time Robbie has been carrying around a postcard of like a cottage near the cliffs of Dover, and it's so beautiful and idyllic, and Cecilia's like, my friend owns it, she says we can go there the next time you have leave, like we can be together. And so the movie does end with just shots of them playing on the beach together before they go into the cottage, and then it's the end, and it's so beautiful and it's so tragic.
I'm not kidding. I went and laid down when it was over.
He really did. I was like, is he researching or does he have to cry for a minute?
No, I went and I just laid down. I didn't fall asleep or anything. I just laid down.
It's so good. I love it so much. I'm so glad you liked it. So glad, because this is like one of my like top tier. Like, I can't watch it often because it is so heavy, but it's just.
It would be.
I think about it all the time.
It would be fun. Weird Choice Awards. Words to watch with someone who hasn't seen it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
With someone more reactive. I was holding my reactions close to
like Rachel. I'm sure Rachel's seen this.
She's not reactive.
She's kind of reactive.
She doesn't laugh.
Well, all right. Yeah.
She watched an entire disc of season 3 of Community.
Oh.
And enjoyed it, but didn't laugh until it was the scene at the end. I think his name was Neil, the like chubby kid that gets put with their group.
Yeah.
No. The skinny guy with curly hair that gets put with their group.
Yeah.
And at the end of that episode, he's like telling them off. And he just goes, your friendships are weird. And that's the moment she started laughing. She got through 6 episodes.
Funny.
And then that's the moment where she laughed me awake.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, we used to put on DVDs when we went to bed.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
And so my friends would wake up before I would, and they would just hit play. And so, man.
Yeah.
I've had it's not even been a full, I mean, I guess as of now, a full hour since I watched this, so my mileage is probably gonna
go up.
Yeah.
I'm like so glad you liked it. It's one of my favorite movies. And like as you said, when he put his hand on the water in the fountain, you were like, I've seen that image before, and I was like, it's been my Facebook header photo for like 6 years. I don't use Facebook anymore, so
no. It's never too late to apologize.
I mean, unless the people are dead.
Okay, sure. But I just want to say, it's never too late to do the right thing.
Sure, you can always apologize. As long as the person is still alive, you can apologize. Oh, do you have something else?
Smoking was so sexy.
Yeah.
I am anti-smoking. I don't smoke. I don't condone it.
Hand-rolled 1930s cigarettes in England.
Both of them. Oh, my God.
Just... Is that it?
More of the forbidden fruit. Yeah, sorry.
You're like, ooh, the smoking. Good note to end on. So let us know if you liked Atonement. And then you can follow us on Twitter, @SoI'mWatching, Instagram, @SoI'mWatching this show. You can also subscribe on YouTube, right over here. And other than that, just rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And that's it for us. Bye.